ETL Systems is a leading manufacturer of RF equipment for satellite communications. With ISO 9000 and 2 Queen's Awards for Enterprise, we strive to produce cutting-edge, innovative products and excellent customer service. From our facility near Madley Earth Station in England, we export almost 80% throughout the world. We have full design, assembly and test capabilities. Custom build is in our DNA. ETL's Vulcan L-band Matrix is designed for large SATCOMs applications for governments, satellite operators and broadcasters. Vulcan is a 128 by 128 matrix in a single 16U chassis with an operating frequency range of 850 to 2150 MHz. Leading-edge RF design ensures unrivaled levels of performance. Vulcan is a full fan-out, hot-swap, 3-stage matrix with 3 types of RF modules. These are input, output and mid-matrix cards, which are accessed via the front and rear panels. The 3-stage architecture provides cross-point redundancy, which is combined with our routing algorithms to allow automatic rerouting in the event of card failure. Additional resilience is delivered via dual-redundant CPUs and power supplies, and these and the RF modules can all be hot-swapped. Onboard monitoring means that any problems can be rapidly identified. The front panel incorporates a local control touchscreen for routing changes, monitoring and setup. The rear panel houses the RF connectors, Ethernet and serial remote communications ports, and dual mains inlets. Vulcan operates as a standalone matrix or as part of a larger matrix system. This ensures that Vulcan systems are scalable with your future requirements. Vulcan may be controlled remotely or locally using the touchscreen or HMI. There is password protection for log on to the HMI and an automatic timeout. The screen's main function is to display and change routings, but it has several other uses, such as changing aliases, adjusting gain, setting RF alarm thresholds, and providing ongoing diagnostics. The Change button opens the routing change window. Crosspoints can be changed by defining input and output numbers, or, as we see here, by selecting input and output aliases from the drop-down lists. Vulcan automatically determines the optimum routes through the matrix and selects them. The vital functions of the matrix are continuously monitored, and the status button shows the condition of the matrix, turning red if there's an alarm. The button also leads onto the status screen, where the user can drill down to the component level. The RF modules benefit from multi-stage, multi-position amplifiers, and the health of each is continuously assessed. For the input cards, the RF input levels are also measured and reported. The status of the 2 CPUs and their communications with the RF modules are further confirmed. Environmental monitoring covers the temperatures of the CPU and RF cards, as well as the fan speeds. In the unlikely event that a fault is detected, an alarm triggers on the front panel and is also reported remotely. Automatic rerouting, when possible, occurs if there is an RF module failure. We have already seen that Vulcan monitors its vital functions. If an alarm is triggered, the operator can readily drill down and see which actual component has failed or where an RF alarm level has been breached. This information is also reported remotely. The status button gives access to the status window where component alarms are clearly identified. The user can drill down further to see, for example, a failed input matrix card, as we see here. The RF modules can all be hot-swapped, with input and output matrix modules accessed via the front panel and mid-matrix modules accessed via the rear. The maintenance function, which is accessed via the menu button, should be used in conjunction with RF module changeout. This allows failed mid-matrix cards to be isolated before hot swap, and also allows storing and reloading of routing information before and after an input or output matrix card is changed. Vulcan's dual redundant CPUs are designed to allow full matrix functionality and operation via either CPU card, although dual remote control is required to give maximum resilience for remote control. The CPUs are hot swapped via the front door. As well as the main HMI alarms, each power supply module has a status LED. The power supplies can be simply replaced by undoing 2 screws and removing the failed supply, while the redundant supply powers the matrix. An environmental alarm is triggered if the temperatures on the RF cards or CPUs are too high, or if a fan speed is too high or low, usually indicating failed fans or blocked filters. Fans can be hot swapped, and the Vulcan is designed to operate for a limited time with the access doors open. It is important that filters do not become blocked and are changed on a regular basis. Once the failed component has been changed out or RF levels move back within their limits, the status button returns to green and alarms are suppressed. The Vulcan Matrix setup is simple, using the touchscreen menu button during commissioning or once the unit is in service. The configuration button is used to define the matrix size and the network settings. The names for each input and output, or aliases, can be set locally and remotely. The user log shows a limited number of events, such as routing changes, including details of the user and the time and date of the change. The Show Versions button gives details of the firmware versions loaded on each of the RF modules, the CPUs and the HMI. Route blocking may be used to prevent specific crosspoints from being made. Output locking protects specific destinations or outputs from being inadvertently reallocated during a routing change. Vulcan has nominal unity gain, but variable input attenuation can also be set for each input independently via the menu screen. Input RF levels are monitored, and low and high alarm thresholds can be defined for each input. Alarms are triggered if actual RF levels for each input breach these thresholds. The menu screen also allows setting of user passwords, time and date, RF card initialization, and default resets. Menu functionality is restricted to the admin user. More details on setting up Vulcan are given in our comprehensive user manuals, along with all remote control protocols. Vulcan, the world's first 128 by 128 single module L-band switch matrix.